Omar, how are you?
Hey, doing good.
How was life? What's new today?
Been a busy week in my personal life. Just got a iPhone from the Apple store. They opened it up right next to the Tesla store at my local mall, which is great. And now I'm sitting in my car.
I did. How do you like the new iPhone?
I don't know. I haven't opened the box yet, but when I looked at it at the store, it looked exactly the same, literally identical to the phone I already have.
Were you in between deciding whether to get it or not, or was it just a no-brainer for you?
I mean, I always buy the latest iPhone. If you think about what I do with posting videos online, things like that, even a marginal improvement in the chip will improve my quality of life quite a bit.
How does it improve it?
Just processing things faster, uploading things faster, the video looks better.
Okay, Scott.
Mine should be coming in the mail later this afternoon, so I'll be getting the 16 Pro Max. And I agree from the pictures, it looks like it's the exact same. It is a little bit bigger, to be honest. I think it's like 0.2 inches or whatever. But other than that, and then that little button on the side for photos, they're adding more buttons now instead of going away from buttons. I thought that was kind of funny. But yeah, other than that, it's probably about the same.
Bull 2035. Thanks, Scott.
Oh, I just accepted your request to speak, and it's a Friday. And I recall about 2 months ago, you led us in some meditation and some stretching. So maybe you're going to have to do that today. I don't know.
Why? What happened today? I remember that.
Would you? I think someone was arguing. Perhaps it was Machine and Omar, and you took a break. You made everyone calm down for a little bit, and then you told us to stretch our back and our arms and that kind of stuff.
You know what's really funny is that this is the kind of stuff that people remember from this space. You work all much to bring some insights into to people, and they remember the small things like that. That's amazing. Do you remember anything else from that space? Like any points mentioned?
I mean, we talk about a lot of the same issues, so I couldn't I don't have the memory to pinpoint that space exactly. I'm sure it was a lot of the common topics that we have. So
Yeah, there you go. So maybe we should just do meditation for 2 hours every day. Do some stretching. Anyway, Nathan, how are you?
Pretty good. I'm thinking about the Kadyrov story, the Chechnyan warlord that Vladimir Putin put in charge of Chechnya. So his Cybertruck was allegedly disabled by Tesla, but I'm not aware of any law that would be a reason to disable it. And I'm not aware of an ability at Tesla to do that. Maybe they have it, but it seems like it would have a really bad look and they wouldn't want to do it if somebody asked them to do it. Any thoughts on that? Anybody?
I don't know. So you said Tesla disabled it? Wow.
No, he's claiming Tesla disabled it. But I mean, it could
Oh,
be
I
anything.
gotcha.
Like the battery is dead and he thinks the truck is bricked and he doesn't have anyone smart enough to figure this out.
Okay, Bull 2035.
well, Kadyrov's a lying terrorist who murders his own people. I mean, if you go into the history of that, so I wouldn't believe anything the guy has to say. His father was a traitor to his people. He's a traitor to his people. And he's a fraud to get it in the first place. He somehow stole it or commandeered it anyway. So I don't trust anything that guy says.
Okay. Man, I have like 20 topics that I want to talk about, and this was not on my list. This is funny. Omar, what do you think? Do you think Tesla disabled it? Looks like Tesla disabled Omar's microphone. JC, how are you doing?
Good, Yaman. How you doing, brother?
I'm good. Anything new with you?
Yeah, I actually got version 12.5.2.1 late last night, and I took it out for the first drives this morning. It was fantastic. It is absolutely everything that everybody was saying it was. It's a step change. It's literally similar to going from V11 to V12. I videotaped it. I recorded. You can tell how old I am. I recorded all of it, and so I'm going to upload. I've got it at 1x with a lot of commentary as I was driving around, and I'll upload that later today.
Is this the first version where you don't have a steering wheel nag?
Oh yeah, and it is a game changer. Like it, I mean, and one of the things I mentioned in there is that I I don't sense it being that sensitive. Like I drove around for a good hour to a lot of different spots, and I looked to my left and right as you should, when you're making left turns, right turns. But as long as you're like not turned away for like a couple of seconds, I never once got anything that said put your eyes back on the road. So it's fantastic. I didn't wear sunglasses the whole time, so didn't try to test that out. But my understanding is it'll be further versions that will where you'll be able to use sunglasses. But
Yeah, that's really cool. Yeah, I think this is the version that's going to keep going wide. It looks like, and people are very positive about it. So thank you very much, JC. Somebody mentioned in the replies that Rivian is dropping hard. It's down 9% right now. If anybody knows whether there are any news, anyone know on the board if there's any news why Rivian is down 9%? Nobody knows. Dallas,
Because I bought it.
what do you mean you bought it? Can you elaborate? Oh my god.
I mean, I've held Rivian for a little while, I guess. Just kind of the one that's like, I don't know. I feel like long term, the crazy gains of Tesla, the 20,000% gains are a little behind us. There's obviously a ton of gains down the road as well, but I mean, that was the one I threw $1,000 on and just said, whatever, forget about it, see what happens. So it was I looked at the IPO at 100 and the share price was like $13, and I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna put a little on that and forget about it. And of course, it's getting eaten alive. So there's that.
Wow. I'm speechless. You are a regular speaker in this space and you still bought $1,000 of Rivian stock. When did you do this?
Gosh, I think it was a little over a month ago. I'd have to go back and check. And to me, like I said, this was the one that I was just like, set it, forget it. That way I can say I did if someday something crazy happens. But obviously the majority of my EV company holdings are in Tesla. I think that's the only other EV company I own. So, but still, to me, this was just why not kind of deal. And I'm definitely eating my words on it because it's a bloodbath. Do not get in the pool, ladies and gentlemen.
Sorry, I can't. I have to recollect my thoughts. I can't. I don't know if I can continue like this. Let's take a 30-second moment of silence for Dallas's $1,000. Okay. Yeah, I don't know if I can continue today. This is ridiculous. I think that I'm gonna need therapy after what I heard. I'm going to need to speak with, I don't know, some religious person like a priest. Dallas, would you like to repent your sins?
Believe me, I've done a little bit of that. Mind you, I mean, my loss isn't as bad as it could have been if I would have bought at a different time, but I'm definitely down on it and very up on Tesla. So there's clearly a winner here at the moment.
Buy high, sell
Wait,
low.
hold on. No, hold on. I want to understand this. What was going through your mind? Let's study your mind.
Yeah. Definitely not an educated investment. This was more of a emotional investment, I would say. I think one day I was driving around with my dad actually, and we were talking about Tesla, of course, and we were in my car, and he was asking me about all these Amazon trucks that he's seeing, and the conversation kind of came up that there's always an Apple in every industry, but then someone has to be on their tail, right? Someone's got to be. We love capitalism for the reason that competition breeds innovation, right? That's kind of my motto there, and I think that rings true in a lot of industries. And I felt that Tesla needs someone on their tail to keep them innovating. And I didn't really see anyone else in the U.S. market. Obviously BYD, but that's overseas. So I just was like, you know what? If someone's going to be that Microsoft or whoever that may be, why not Rivian? And did that with very little in, looking into their financials or anything like that. That was more of an impulsive investment. But like I said, small amount of money, just threw it in there, kind of a bury it in the backyard type of situation.
So you know what's really interesting? You threw $1,000 in there on the long side about a month ago, as Omar was discussing how he is short and he bought puts. So yeah, interesting timing. What kind of? I have more questions for you. Bull 2035.
Sorry about that. Yeah, I mean, yesterday Rivian was flat, I believe, or maybe a little down on a good day, and today it's way down. And you posted, Yaman, about Volkswagen and are they going to have a layoff or not? Well, when you invest in Rivian, you're now investing in Volkswagen, like it or not.
Yeah, I really appreciate people in the replies giving me their thoughts and prayers after what I heard. Miss Libby Palmer says, "I'm here for you. Don't stress." Thank you very much, Miss Libby. And No Clue says, "Never tell Yaman you bought Rivian ever," in capital letters. This is true. Yoda, what do you think about this news that we just got that Dallas threw $1,000 into Rivian?
Well, I'm ashamed as well. There was, I forget when it was, but I did buy a little bit of Rivian. I think it was ahead of their R2, R3, whatever it is, unveiling. But I did not feel comfortable, so I got rid of it in a week. I didn't lose money on it though.
Yeah, I don't know if getting rid of it in a week makes up for your sins. So therefore, you are banned from the space for the foreseeable future. And come back 1 year. Anyway. Okay, we have a lot to talk about, actually. Dallas, I wish you the best. And I wish Rivian the best. But that's just not what's going to happen. I see a lot of Rivian investors in the crowd. I think as we started talking about this and we had our moment of silence for Dallas, people messaged each other, I'm guessing, and Rivian investors just hopped in. Welcome, everybody. You're welcome to request to speak and, provide emotional support to Dallas.
Yaman, I think you've become the priest. This is like the confessional today.
Forgive me, Father, for I have sinned.
Okay. Oh my God. Okay, that was so funny. Okay, we have a lot to talk about. Let's move on. Let's see. Okay, Alexander, let's talk about European market for a little bit.
Sure.
European car sales are running 2 million units per year below pre-COVID levels. Auto suppliers, a representative of auto suppliers in France said suppliers may lose half of their jobs by 2030. Continental is spinning off their auto parts business. Mercedes is having issues. VW is laying off 30,000 people. There is a fight growing between labor and VW, and government is trying to stay out of it. But you're telling me, and Audi is closing a plant in Belgium, but you're telling me not every data point is that bad. So what are you seeing on the other side that points to health of the European car market?
Yeah, so like obviously it's down after the pandemic, and the rates are pretty high here still, and I think that's mainly what is affecting it. It's yeah, rates pretty much.
You think this is just due to the rates? You think that as rates come down, the auto industry in Europe will come back to health?
One data point for this argument is actually that used car prices haven't gone down that much on fossil fuel cars here in Europe. So that's a data point that tells me it's had something to do with rates.
Okay, Yoda?
Yeah, I think there's a bigger thing going on here. I think what Tesla has done globally is it's redefined what luxury means. And I think, European car companies, particularly the premium ones, were riding very smoothly, on, the quality of the leather in the interior, the performance in terms of the ICE engines, etc., the fit and finish, and those are still relevant. But I think technology is a vector of luxury that I think they're not able to compete, and it's consumers are being really swayed that way. This started with sort of the battery technology, but more and more it'll become um, anchored around autonomous driving being the ultimate luxury. Having your own chauffeur. So I think there's something going on here that's going to be bigger. It's the same reason why you don't appreciate your dad's leather jacket anymore. Because the world's gone vegan, right?
Okay. Here's a data point that I thought was really interesting. Stellantis has been trying to sell one of their assembly plants, ICE assembly plants in China, for a long time. And the price for this plant is $170 million. And the cost is $700 million, or about 150,000 per year unit type of plant. Okay. So they're going to lose $530 million or so on this one plant that they have, and these automakers have dozens of plants. Okay, this plant on their balance sheet is an ICE assembly plant owned by Stellantis in China. Okay, now I'm 80% confident, 90% confident, but the 10% probability that I may be wrong on what I'm about to say is a technicality, accounting technicality, and doesn't really relate to the overarching point. Okay, the value of this plant on their balance sheet should be about $700 million. Okay, so if these automakers lose 80% of the value that is reflected on their asset side of the balance sheet as they get rid of their ICE plants due to overcapacity across the world as the world transitions to plant equipment, plant property equipment, PP&E, as a line item on their balance sheet, When that happens, even though this is a non-cash charge, when that happens, their balance sheet leverage will surge. This is unrelated to the other point that I used to make, which is their leased cars, finance cars, the existing fleet losing billions of dollars, tens of billions of dollars per automaker. So the asset side of their balance sheet is about to blow up. All right. So I'm going to be on the lookout for more data points like this. Stellantis trying to find a buyer in China for their ICE assembly plant, and they can't. They've been trying for about a year, if not more. And the price is 170 million versus the $700 million cost. Okay, Alexander?
Yeah, you cut out for me for a moment, so I don't know if you mentioned this, but Stellantis is the second biggest car company in Europe.
Yeah. Stellantis is having a lot of problems, but it's not just them. It's Volkswagen as well. Mercedes is having a lot of problems. Like Mercedes, for example, they're selling their Denza brand. This is a Chinese brand. The internals are BYD. Okay, so the powertrain and everything are BYD, but the styling is Mercedes. The branding, Mercedes. And they're even sold at Mercedes stores in China. And they had no success whatsoever. And they're ending that brand. So you know that argument about, oh, you know, the power, like, you know, people will want a good looking car and everything. Even if you put in BYD internals in there, Mercedes is unable to sell this car in China. So, Ellie?
Yeah, thanks. So, as you know, I worked for Zeekr for 6 months. So I can tell you that a lot of people came from Mercedes, from BMW. They came down to buy some 001 by Zeekr just because of the look. It looks luxurious. It looks like premium quality build, but you pay half the price. A lot of people coming down from premium brands to Chinese, not to mention Tesla, of course.
Okay. Alexander?
Yeah, I want to mention that the 4 biggest car companies in Europe are bigger than Tesla in terms of revenue, just so the audience know this.
Okay. Omar, first, I think you had a connection issue earlier, but Rivian stock is down 9% today. Have you heard of any news?
Nothing in particular. I'm a little surprised. I do still have my Rivian $14 put, so I was wondering if I should now close this position today with it here at 11.
It's actually down 10% now. Wow. That stock is sinking. Is there something going on?
Let me
Interesting.
check the news stories.
Yeah. Benzinga has said, what's going on with Rivian stock 1 hour ago? Crazy. Rivian, I mean, when a company is overvalued, it doesn't really need a reason to move like this, but no, I don't want to. Alexander?
Yeah, I want to ask you a question and see if you can answer it right. So the company I work for, we had some Volvo V60s before we bought the BMW i4, and we bought them for 370,000 Swedish crowns. How much do you think we sold them for when they had 190,000 kilometers on them? They were bought in 2019. Just give me a guess.
Yeah, you know what's really funny? I got a very similar question just yesterday. People are shocked about the resale values of these things. Can you give me the numbers again? Sorry.
So the price new was 370,000 Swedish crowns.
And when did you get it?
2019 with 190,000 kilometers.
And what's the car?
Volvo V60 D4. That's a diesel.
Okay. I don't know, like 80% depreciation.
We sold it to a car dealer for 180,000 Swedish crowns.
Okay, so what percent depreciation is that?
60%.
60. Yeah, that's not too bad.
Exactly.
What do you think about that?
I don't know what to make of that, but surely, because you talked about leasing fees a couple of episodes ago, and how the leasing firms, aka the car manufacturers, gonna take a hit on their balance sheets because they can't sell the cars for the right amount due to the leasing fee. But this doesn't show, at least in these numbers.
Well, that's only one data point, right?
That is only one data point.
Yeah, and as we discussed in previous episodes as well, Tesla's price cuts first impact Tesla's used values, just because they're much closer. Like used Teslas are a much closer replacement for a new Tesla, given if the price is right. And it's going to take another year or two for ICE automakers to see that impact. And I think it is part of the and then it goes to plug-in hybrids, then it goes to hybrids, and then it's going to go to ICE. And it's going to depend on brand to brand to brand. So the time, I don't think it's only been a year or so since Tesla took those massive price cuts. So give it another year or two, and I wonder if this is why Volkswagen CFO is getting exceedingly, alarming language when he says we only have a year or two left to turn around the company. So I wouldn't be surprised if this is part of the equation here. So Alexander, do you have another data point to tell us why European market you think is doing better?
Leasing fees have actually gone up in Europe in the last years, like 5 years, with like 14 and 8%. And there are still some companies that try to be competitive and hold their prices low. I think those are the ones that might be in trouble.
What do you mean by leasing fees?
So leasing contracts, pretty much.
So people are leasing more, you're saying? I mean,
No,
by the way,
no, the price of the leasing contracts.
But doesn't that align with the expectation of a higher depreciation in the future?
Yeah, but that depends. If you just take the Volvo as an example, obviously, if you want to buy a Volvo in the next 5 years that was made in the 2024, that price will be higher, obviously, than a used Volvo from 2019 today. Do I make sense?
Okay. Yeah, Omar, what do you think about this idea? So I don't think you were here when I mentioned European car sales are running 2 million units per year below pre-COVID levels. They've failed to recover. And, Volkswagen is announcing they have 1 to 2 years left to turn things around. Auto suppliers group in France says they may lose half their supplier jobs by 2030. Continental is trying to spin off its auto parts business with 100,000 employees and $20 billion sales. Mercedes is having an issue. Mercedes just revised their profit outlook for this year for the second time in 2 months. Okay. That is massive. Not only a profit outlook revision is a rare event, doing it for a second time in 2 months is extremely rare. And I actually don't know of another example. Never heard of another example of that. What do you think about this?
Really, the root cause in my mind, which a lot of people in the EU have started talking about, is just European competitiveness. So Europe and the culture there, they just overregulate everything. It's sort of default no rather than default yes. And you see all this innovation, all this research in the US and China, and Europe is amazing place, but sadly, they're falling further and further behind in this type of climate. And people have done reports for the EU on European competitiveness. This is starting to be an issue. For example, FSD, not allowed in the EU. The new Apple Intelligence features, not going to be launching in the EU. So, in the case of Mercedes, for example, a big part of the struggles that they're having has been China, right? So you have the emergence of a different country where the regulatory environment is not constrained. It's sort of default yes, go build it rather than default no. And they're pushing far ahead, and it's starting to have an impact. It's having an impact on Volkswagen as well. As a matter of fact, that may be the reason why we're seeing this price action in Rivian today is people sort of doing the math on, hey, there was supposed to be this $5 billion joint venture. Meanwhile, Volkswagen's now laying off 30,000 people. The supervisory board of the company is half controlled by unions. They're going to be pissed because the amount of money the union makes is a function of how many workers there are. And, they're supposed to represent the workers. And they're, I mean, I imagine they're going to say, hey, why are we giving $5 billion? Why are we starting this joint venture with Rivian, who, by the way, is not union, when we're laying off 30,000 people? So if they fail to consummate this deal, Rivian is going to be in a markedly worse position with a big question mark on where the capital comes to get them through the ramp of the R2. At the same time that you're actually seeing sales of some of their flagship units like the R1S decline year over year in the US as markets like the Kia EV9 and the Cybertruck, those are both now outselling the Rivian.
Thank you. Alexander?
Yeah, regulation in Europe is mainly used to compete. Okay, so like people might think in America that like Europe is really strict, but you have to understand that, like, for example, like Autobahn, you have no speed limit there. Does that sound like regulation to you? Or like in Sweden, you can walk in any forest wherever you want. No one has like private property in that sense. So it's pretty free, but regulation is mainly used to compete.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of, personal freedom, I think it's a great place to live. I love coming to Europe. I can't wait until they launch FSD there so I can go and drive around Europe and classify it as a business expense. But just in terms of their businesses, the number of startups being formed, the amount of innovation, the smartest entrepreneurs and minds in the EU go to the United States or China and do business there often.
Alexander, are you not worried about these automakers collapsing in the next 1 to 2 years?
Yeah, not really. Like, okay, let's just take some revenue numbers here. So Volkswagen has an yearly revenue of like $300 billion. Okay, Stellantis 200 billion, Mercedes 161 billion, BMW 139 billion. That's much more than Tesla. But Tesla will grow. But these giants, they have a lot of capital. They are hard to kill.
How did you go from revenue to they have a lot of capital?
Yeah, that's a logical issue, maybe. But I mean, still they have. Yeah, okay, good point.
So did you change your mind?
They're still earning a lot of money. I mean, like BMW is doing actually pretty good.
Okay. So you're saying that if, for example, in Q4, they announce 50, 60, 70, 80, 90% drops year over year in profit figures year over year for Q4, you would change your mind?
yeah, obviously, if you okay, so if you have capacity to produce a certain amount of cars and you all of a sudden don't sell that amount of cars, obviously you're not going to earn as much money. But it's not like that is just going to spiral down to the whole company just go bankrupt. I don't think so.
Okay, so you're telling me that a few quarters of negative earnings would not lead you to believe that they're going to collapse. So what would make you believe?
I don't think yeah, Germany is not gonna let like Volkswagen crash. That's not gonna happen. Like, do you know how like that impact to the economy there? That no, that won't happen.
That's why it might happen, because nobody thinks it can happen.
Yeah,
But-
dude, no, literally nobody. I mean, it's fine. It's amazing to me. Every single person I see from Europe that come into the space, they just can't imagine Volkswagen or other European automakers failing, going bankrupt. Even though the CFO, so Alexander, what do you say about the CFO saying we have 1 to 2 years to turn it around?
Yeah, I would. Yeah, politics, pretty much. They want an advantage. Yeah, it's much politics, I think. You wouldn't say
Okay.
that to hurt your company. Like, you would use that for politics.
Gotcha. So you're saying they're trying to get more out of the government. They're trying to get more out of the labor unions, and that's why he's kind of trying to sound a little, kind of like Elon says, we were a few weeks away from bankruptcy or something in 2019. Is that
Pretty much.
okay? Omar?
I think the government obviously is very powerful, but the government can't make gravity go up instead of down. If the company fundamentally has products that people do not want to buy, the government cannot provide their revenue for them. I mean, you can to some extent. You can order a lot of cars, but in terms of their total global revenue, 50% of which comes from China, the government can't just give that to them out of their tax receipts.
Alexander?
And that's where regulation comes into the picture. They want to regulate. Obviously, they don't want FSD here. Like, that's gonna totally like destroy the rest of them. So say like FSD Q1 2025 in Europe. I don't think that's gonna happen. It's just a fairy tale.
Okay. But I think that FSD doesn't need to be in Europe for these automakers to collapse. Alexander, what do you think about the fact that the Volkswagen stock is now at the depths of COVID crash? What do you think about that?
Yeah, but I mean, Volkswagen is not interested to own. Like, I think it's a part of that, and you want to invest in the future, and you see, like, yeah, I don't know, like, investors is probably not interested in Volkswagen. That's why.
Okay, what about, you said BMW is doing really well, but their stock is also almost very close to the level of the depths of COVID.
Yeah, sure. As I said, it's not interesting, but like stock performance, like we in this space know that stock performance does not really reflect what the company is doing.
Okay. So then does that mean you're buying BMW stock because you believe the stock, even though stock is declining, the fundamentals are doing really well, you said, I think?
No, I will not buy this. I'm not bullish on these companies. I'm just saying it like I believe it is. Okay, so I'm not putting any weight in these companies.
Okay. All right. Just a quick word of thank you to Hollis for the super chat on YouTube. And yesterday's episode broke records. We had the most liked episode yesterday, more than 100 likes, and also broke the watch hours record as well. And it's increasing. And so the highest watch hours for a live stream yesterday happened in yesterday's episode. And it really makes a difference when people like the video. So if you're watching this on YouTube, please take a moment to like the video And even if you're listening on X, the link is at the top of your screens to the YouTube video. I would appreciate it if you could scroll up, give it a like, because it pushes it out to more people. And I think this is the limiting factor right now. We need to introduce Tesla Live to new folks. Okay. The retention is really high. Like time watched per episode is really high compared to most other videos I see. And percentage of people who return to the channel is very high, but we need to get it out to new people. And I think that's going to happen with more engagement on YouTube, likes, comments below the video, sharing the videos with others. So that's the way it's going to happen. I'm also going to start doing non-Tesla content on YouTube. For example, I'm going to start with like FedEx missed estimates, and the stock is down 15%. FedEx stock, last I checked this morning, was down 15%. So I'm going to, FedEx is a very important company for the world. They're kind of a bit of a lifeblood. Like transportation companies are very important. They can be early indicators of macroeconomy. And I'm going to analyze for my members and patrons FedEx results. All right, so that link is at the top of our screens as well. JC?
Yeah, man. I think it's
Hey, I wanted
kind of
to say,
interesting.
I went to my old job. I used to work at Mercedes-Benz for about 5 years. I went to visit them just to see what's going on. I spoke to the GM and top salesperson who used to work for me. Basically, the GM was telling me this is the slowest month they have had in years, month to date. He's super worried about what's happening. They're focusing heavily on used cars, buying a lot of cars from auctions and whatnot to be able to maintain their bottom line at a decent number. In addition, the salesperson who has been top salesperson for a long time was telling me that in 2021, 2022, he averaged about 220 to 250 for the year in commission pays. This year, he's pacing to make about $75,000, $80,000. To make things worse, the GM was telling me that he found out recently that 2 of their salespeople were applying at Tesla because they want to go into the no commission model. Because it's extremely difficult for them to be able to gauge, what their pay is going to be on a monthly basis. So they want some stability. Obviously, they have families and whatnot. So believe it or not, guys, they also shifted their pay package. Now includes a bigger portion that's salary, strictly salary. It's not something that they can now take back because before the way the pay plan worked is they'll give you a $2,000 advance, but then they will take it back and then they'll pay you whatever commission you have, right? Now there's a base commission just to make them feel like they have some base to work with. So yeah, things are not going very well, very good at all.
Okay. For the people who are applying at Tesla, bring them over here. Let's give them a few questions to see if they're good enough to work at Tesla first. Okay. JC, go ahead. Sorry, you got interrupted.
No worries. Yeah, I was just going to say it's kind of interesting, Yaman, just from a historical perspective, that a lot of these large industrial powers of Germany, Britain, France, all across Europe, they got built up in the late 1800s due to the Opium Wars. Basically, they created these huge conglomerates to go in there and just jam pack down the throats of every Chinese person possible. And I just think it's really interesting that the death knell of some of these huge conglomerates are going to be at the feet of the Chinese.
Yeah. Thank you. Omar, so are you going to close your put position on the on Rivian?
No, because it's only like a few $100s, so even if I lost it all, it wouldn't be a big deal. It's up a little bit now, but
What's your strike?
$14.
Yeah, you're probably safe.
Yeah, so I mean, I think there's a chance that if the Rivian Volkswagen deal gets called off, I'd want to be holding this put on that day because that's when I
Yeah.
bought it.
Yeah. Do you think that's kind of the rumor spreading? I mean, I don't want to spread rumors, so don't worry about it. Yeah, I wonder if that's what it is. But their CFO was pretty positive about that deal just a week or two ago. So I don't know.
I would say 25% chance it doesn't pass.
Oh, I'll definitely take 50. I'll if you want to take the no side that it will pass, I'll take the other side. I don't think it's gonna that is gonna close, but that's just my
You don't think it's
opinion.
going to close?
I don't think so.
Yeah. There's a good chance it doesn't close with the news we're seeing.
Yeah. I mean, when you think about from a Volkswagen's perspective, the more they can slow down Tesla in any way possible, the better for Volkswagen. And one way to do that is to financially support their competitors, and even if it means they're like zombies, So I was like, maybe $1 billion isn't much, but 5 billion, when Volkswagen itself is kind of looking down, I don't know. Yeah, I don't. I mean, every time they talk, either side talks about this potential deal that's supposed to close in Q4. They say it's kind of contingent on Rivian meeting some milestones. That, by the way, we don't even know what the milestones are. Like, they've been very skittish about the milestones. I'm guessing it has something to do with contribution margin positive or some profitability metrics, some cost metrics. But I think it's wishful thinking. I wish them the best. Who had their hand up? Alexander?
Yeah, I think it's gonna be hard for Volkswagen to be friends with the regulators in Europe if they send away like 4 billion euros to America.
Yeah, also, like, that's exactly what I was thinking too. So you're laying off tens of thousands of people. You're telling labor in Germany that you can't afford otherwise, and then you're sending $5 billion to an American company. That makes no sense. And so that's exactly what crossed my mind yesterday when I was watching this stuff. I mean, these European automakers, they're also looking at some very stringent 2025 targets for CO2 targets for the fleet emissions. And they're looking at billions of dollars of fines, and they're negotiating with government on that front as well. So Volkswagen suspended ID4 production in the US. Volkswagen suspended ID4 production in the US. That's another headline. Yeah.
Yeah, not good. They had an issue where it turns out they didn't seal the door handle well enough so water could get in there, get on the chip, and then make the door open while you're driving. So they stopped the sale of all ID4s. They're stopping production while they work on a fix, and everybody in the factory's been furloughed.
Yeah, hundreds of people have been furloughed. Exactly. All right. We have 30 likes on YouTube. Let's try to break yesterday's record. The link is at the top of your screens. The likes really matter. Please go up to the top of your screens and give it a like. Thank you very much, everybody. Omar, I listened to the Waymo CEO's conversation at the All-In Summit. Did you watch it?
No, I haven't gotten around to it yet.
Okay. He seems so. Obviously, we talked about how this is a co-CEO situation, but the other co-CEO apparently has been there since very early days of Waymo, which was almost 2 decades ago. And this person, maybe they're focused on different areas. This person seems to be focused on kind of the expansion growth stage. He said that they have high conviction in LiDAR, radar, and camera combinations. Okay, so it doesn't sound like they want to get rid of LiDAR anytime soon, or radar. What do you think about that?
That's going to put them at a serious cost disadvantage. That may kill the company.
Yeah, the All-In folks tried to kind of get some information out of her, but she was very tight-lipped about how much the LiDAR costs. Jason said something like $10,000 to $15,000, right? And she didn't bite. And I think for good reason. I think she has a point that as they scale, the LiDAR costs will probably decline. So it's kind of irrelevant right now how much it costs. They then also try to get the information of how much the car costs in total. And Jason threw out a number of 100 to 150,000. They went back and forth with David Sachs, and I think she handled it pretty professionally there too. But so you think that these cars that they're trying to build with Zeekr, and now I think they have a conversation with, I believe, Hyundai. You believe that the cost of producing a Waymo car will continue to be substantially higher than the cost of producing a Tesla car, let's say even 5-10 years down the line?
Yeah, I mean, it's not really just the cost of the LiDAR unit itself. Obviously, you have the cost of the LiDAR, you have the cost of installing it, wiring the car, the sort of post-production process. Then you have the fact that these things are sticking out on the car, making it less aero efficient. You need to actually spin these things, so they're using power not just to shoot out the laser, but also to spin them. That's increasing your energy usage per mile, right? And then you need to localize with the HD map. So now you need to scan the entire area, send people out regularly, scan it, keep the HD map updated. There's a whole cost structure associated with this approach. That's a big part of why they're not profitable. And you can make improvements. You can say, let's say, okay, we cut the cost of the LiDAR sensor in half. We came up with a more efficient way to generate the map and keep it updated. You can do things to bring it down, but it's just going to be a much more costly approach on several fronts. And when you look at what Pure Vision is doing, there's a strong argument to be made that Pure Vision is not only going to be able to match the performance of these LiDAR systems, it'll actually exceed it and do so at a lower cost. Now, that hasn't happened yet. We haven't actually seen a computer vision system that beats the performance of a system with LiDAR and radar. But the way it's trending, I think it's heading in that direction very fast.
Thank you. When you get into a Waymo car and you use it very frequently, when you get into a Waymo car, do you still hear that buzz of the computer in the back, the fans?
Kind of, but you don't really hear it anymore because they play elevator music when you get in. So you kind of just hear the elevator music. And it's a very nice experience overall. You can play your own music, but most people probably won't notice the sounds of the computers in the back, and there is a decent amount of room there to put your luggage. Not like a full trunk space, but enough room to put a suitcase or two.
Okay. Thank you. That's very insightful. I have more questions, but I just want to point out, I think there was a surge of likes. We just jumped to about 50 likes, I believe. And the number of concurrent viewers also jumped. So we're seeing real-time impact of these likes on YouTube. And the YouTube channel must grow. Okay. So please go up to the top of your screens and give it a like. Yoda?
I watched the All In interview with her. Man, she's a smart cookie. I really actually liked her. It's a really fresh perspective listening to her talk. Um, but I think she had a very interesting point for why Waymo didn't start on the highways, which is they really wanted to solve the urban setting, which is more difficult, even though it's sort of at lower speeds. And that in order to get the learnings, get the more complex data, that they didn't want to start with the highways. So I thought that was quite interesting. She also mentioned that Waymo does not want to get into the business of, cleaning cars and operating a fleet, and that likely they're really just trying to be the technology company, the provider, licensing to OEMs and partnering with the Ubers, the ride-hailing networks, as the way they see how to get from here to scale.
Thank you, Yoda, for those comments. Another interesting body language type of observation I had was when she was asked by David Sachs, don't you think this is going to disrupt Uber at some point? She kind of hesitated answering that question. She wasn't ready for that question. I think they know. It's going to be a very interesting relationship between Waymo and Uber, how they go about that. She then kind of reverted back to some sort of professional prepared answer to that question. But that initial reaction was pretty interesting, I thought. Okay. Thanks for bringing up highways, Yoda. That was one of my. Go ahead, Yoda.
Yeah, I like to put a tag on her to run Tesla's FSD business one day.
Let's not get carried away. Let's not get carried away. The other thing was, so Waymo still testing on highways. It's a little surprising, honestly. I thought they had expanded in San Francisco for highways, Omar. Is that not true?
Only for employees.
Right. Okay. And they still have a safety driver, right? She said.
On highways, they're going driverless if you're a Google employee. But about 75% of their driven miles still have a safety driver for their test fleet.
Yeah. Yeah, they're taking it very Yoda?
Yeah, question for Omar. She really honed in on the idea of Waymo is building the world's most experienced or the best driver, and that she focused on the one driver. Now that could be sort of marketing talk,
No, hold
but
on. I gotta correct that right there because I noticed the same thing. It was, I think, either one of the Alding folks who said most experienced driver, and then she corrected them. She said safest or most trusted. Sorry, she said most trusted driver. So that's the kind of marketing angle they're going with, and I think that's probably something. Go ahead.
right. But sorry, my emphasis was on sort of this idea of one, which I understand from a technology perspective. But I was wondering, maybe Omar, how different is that idea of the one driver from Tesla's approach, which obviously it's one, but there's different models because of hardware, 3, 4, etc. How close is the approach in your opinion?
Well, I mean, I don't think I agree with your distinction there. They're, hardware 3 and hardware 4 right now are running the exact same model. So both are trying to train a great driver.
That's exactly what I thought too when she said that comment. That Tesla is also trying to build the one driver as well around the world, really. So I think she was a little off in that comment. There were other issues where I was like, oh, that's not exactly correct what you're trying to say. She also tried to imply like Tesla's being a level 1, like she said level 3, level 2, level 1 kind of system that you mentioned, referring to Tesla FSD that Jason was talking about. I was like, that's not, that's why I was like, she's not, she's okay, but I don't know if Tesla material.
I mean, she's basically a figurehead, right? Like
Right.
the other guy's actually building the product, but he's not going to be instilling this urgency in the company. He's been there 15 years. And she's the one who goes and meets with the politicians and they go, "Oh, what a nice woman with her law degree." And she convinces them to go, "Okay, yeah, let's do this," which is honestly an important piece of the puzzle. And they've had success getting regulatory approval and keeping their permit, unlike some other companies. So I think that's really what her role is. It's kind of the interface with their customers and their stakeholders, the cities, that kind of thing.
Yeah. Yoda? Yoda?
Yeah, Omar, I know you take those Waymo rides pretty frequently. Be careful out there. I think she mentioned that some accident rate, and it was higher than I expected. But if Waymo
No, I
was,
think didn't she just cite the statistics that we discussed here last week or 2 weeks ago when they shared it with the public?
yeah, it was the public stats, but it wasn't. Didn't she say it was like 80% less or something than human drivers?
Yeah, why is that bad?
I thought I would have loved to hear like the 90s at least. Um, yeah. Question for Omar: if Waymo was a public company, would you invest, and why or why not?
No, because they haven't really explained how they're going to generate any earnings, and I haven't seen a plan yet. So they don't strike me as a company that's going to push fast and get this done because they need to do it before they run out of money or something. They kind of just have a blank check to keep doing this and losing money for as long as they need. And I think that there's still a better chance than people realize that this kind of ends up going nowhere. I mean, Google's famous for just killing off projects when they get bored of them. And, obviously, GM's EV1 was a huge pioneer. BlackBerry was a huge pioneer in smartphones. The first doesn't end up always dominating the market. So you have to, be careful there. You have to really look at, is this a business? And I don't see the business yet.
She also said, Omar, to your point, or about what we were just discussing. She said that there's a path. She said there's definitely a path. When she got questioned about scaling, like a business profitability scaling type of question, and she said there's definitely. And she said, lowering the cost of the vehicle, or cost per mile type of question. And she said there's definitely a path. She said, I think I'm thinking about this every day. So that's what she seems to be focused on: scaling, going to volume. I mean, look, if there wasn't a path, Google wouldn't have announced another $5 billion investment, and or at least they believe there's a path, right? But they haven't shared with the public. So, to Yoda's question, would you invest in it if it was IPO? Then yeah, that's a good reason not to invest in the company. But if there was an IPO, I think they would probably share those plans a little bit.
I mean, if I saw them making progress towards having a business, like for example, if they said, hey, we're going to abandon trying to run our own robotaxi fleets and we're actually going to sell to other car makers. And, this car maker has done a multi-billion-dollar deal with us for us to integrate Waymo into their cars or something like that. Then maybe it gets interesting. Right now, it seems more like they've been focused on just trying to prove out the concept, just trying to show that you can actually run a driverless service and it can work, which was a really important thing to do. But there's a big difference between doing that and actually consistently delivering a reliable experience that can beat your car, that can get you to replace your car and be at prices that are attractive enough to make you give up your car.
Ellie,
I think the answer is pretty clear, but I will ask the question anyway. So if Waymo will sell the product or the concept, or whatever the company sells to other automaker, do you think it will be an American, European, or Chinese brand?
they'll sell to anybody they can. Yoda, if they went IPO, would you invest in Waymo? Yoda? Invest in Waymo, would you? No. Okay. Yeah,
Sorry.
now you respond. Okay, so we
back.
have to talk to you like
I'm
that.
back.
Gotcha.
I couldn't understand you before. What was the question? Can you say it again?
Invest in Waymo, would you? I can't do the sound. Can you do the voice?
I wouldn't. I wouldn't. Because at best, they're just gonna be a licensee of the technology, and at best, if they get into licensing to millions of vehicles, it would be exactly where one startup of what Tesla is doing. So what's the point?
Yeah. Maybe Dallas would, since he invested in the Rivian too. Dallas, if you have another $1,000 to throw around, to throw to trash, Waymo's looking for money.
I'm not going to do that, but I'm going to spend it at Joa.
Oh, thank you very much. I appreciate that. That reminds me, I could probably give a thank you to our sponsors. Let me turn to that page. Omar, and audience requested that you play background music as I read these things. And maybe you can select different music every time. Keep them guessing. Tesla Live is proudly sponsored by Joa, your go-to source for premium Tesla accessories. And because you're part of the Tesla family, Joa is hooking you up. Use code TSLA Live for a special discount. And pay more. Buys, sells, trades, and recycles electronics because Paymore believes the best technology doesn't have to come at the cost of our planet or your wallet. Join the Paymore revolution and visit one of their 100 stores near you or visit paymore.com. Alexander.
Yeah,
Alexander, first, what does Paymore believe?
That it shouldn't be on expense of the planet. So you should sell your electronics.
Thank you. I love it.
And-
I love that. I love that line. Go ahead.
And I actually bought the Joa controllers, the wireless ones for my Tesla. I bought 2 of them, and I'm really happy with the purchase. And it is actually premium for your Tesla. I can't recommend these controllers enough. And
awesome.
It's not actually that expensive. If you thought it would be expensive, it's not. It's the great deal for getting your cable management under control.
That's awesome. Thank you, Alexander. The link is at the top of our screens. If you use TSLA Live, you get 5% of your purchases, and I get 5%. And Joa just sent their first check, actually. They generated thousands of dollars of sales through this link. So they signed up as a sponsor of the space, as a subscriber of my X account, which is only about a couple $100, $200. And in return, they got thousands of dollars of sales for sponsoring the space because of the space listeners. I think listeners really appreciate our sponsors. I think people really want the space to survive and succeed and grow. And they are, getting these wireless chargers. They're following the Paymore account. And when I go onto followers of Paymore, I see a lot of the newer followers they have. Most of them are also my followers too. So that's a really good sign that people, I think, really care about their sponsors. And Alexander's right. I mean, the feedback about these controllers are really good. Omar, you have them too, right?
Yeah, they're amazing.
Yeah. Scott?
Yeah, I ordered I think I said this before, but I ordered the formats. I pick tomorrow at 2 p.m. I pick up my new Model 3 Highland Ultra Red white interior. And in my trunk of my car, I have my all-weather floor mats from Joa, my wireless charger. I already have the USB for my center console. I'm going to plug in there. So I'm going to install at Tesla and drive it home. So I'm super excited.
Very good. Thank you very much, Scott. Dallas.
Sorry, I got distracted. Just drove past a beautiful Cybertruck. I was curious how many people simped last night and ordered the puddle lights like I did for 65 or something bucks. I think it was.
I did.
All right. Okay. I think we gave enough shout out to our sponsors. Let's go back to the topics here. Uzi.
Well, hello. I got a message from Alex saying they were talking about Waymo. I had to leave my meeting immediately, throw everything on the floor, come here right now.
Welcome back, man. All right, let's see what else do we got here. Hey, while you're on the space, you're a fan of Palantir. Palantir CEO sold $325 million of stock. Any comments?
Yeah, so the comp package, the stock-based compensation plan, I think Palantir needs to reach $50 by 2029 for that to vest. So I'm totally okay with it. We're just in 2024, 5 more years to reach that. And the way the stock has moved in the past couple of months, it's a little exuberant. I wish Tesla had this move. But I don't want, we talked about reflexivity. I think this would be a case of that. So the CEO selling, I hope would cool the ambition of investors right here.
Okay, so as an investor of Palantir, you're saying you hope the stock slows down.
For the time being. I mean, obviously, I want it to moon, and I'm at 50% gains in the last 3 months. It's a little excessive, but awesome.
Okay, is there anyone else on the board who have a Palantir investment? Okay, Yoda, you didn't buy into Palantir? Okay, yeah.
No,
Yoda,
no.
how come? How come?
The hair scares me.
Okay. What if he got a haircut? Would you invest?
Yeah, honestly, this guy reminds me with this other crypto guy who has crazy hair.
Okay. All right. So you don't want to answer the question. Got it. All right. Alexander?
You're gonna hate me for this. Doesn't Elon have added here?
I don't know. Man, the last 10 minutes of this show, we're going downhill. Let's see the number of likes. Omar, what do you think about Palantir CEO selling $325 million?
Usually not a good sign.
Yeah. Yeah. On its own, not a great sign. But, who knows? Maybe he wants to buy something, a house, a condo in New York City. It's a very much loved company. I mean, Uzi is a huge fan. The investors are big fans. I see all the tweets and the posts. They seem to be, they announce their contracts often, so they seem to be getting lots of business. Uzi, you want to elaborate?
Well, I just wanted to point out hypocrisy. I do feel like Elon gets a bad rap for selling, a couple billion Tesla shares. I mean, I think it was more than a couple billion. Whereas any
I think it
other
was about
CEO
50 billion, right? 50 billion.
All right. Well, that's why we're meeting right now. But every other CEO can go. Thinking of Jensen Huang of Nvidia, and they can sell hundreds of millions over months, and it's not a big deal. So I do see yes, Elon sold a lot, but there's only once. Whereas you're seeing other CEOs take money out of their stocks right now.
Who?
Jensen and Alex Karp. Do you want another one?
Okay, so where's the hypocrisy? I don't understand.
All right. Well, yeah. You know what? I'm just gonna take it back.
Okay.
It's a long day. I had a flight yesterday.
You had a what? Fight? Who'd you fight?
Flight.
Oh, okay. I was like, why don't you call us? We'd be there for you.
Yeah, I have Tesla Yoda pull up.
Okay. All right, let's move on. Let's see. Omar, did you hear that Cruise is getting back into Bay Area?
Yeah, I think they announced they're gonna have human-driven vehicles doing some mapping in the South Bay. As far as I know, they haven't gotten their permit back yet.
That's pretty amazing, right? What do you make of that?
Well, they're probably just gonna have to test in other states. Um, I mean, their days are kind of numbered. The company's now being run by GM's lawyers. All the executives have left. They're just, trying to keep this facade that the company's still doing something, but it's a right down to zero.
Yeah. Okay, so do you think they're keeping them around for the headlines?
Yeah, I don't see California necessarily giving them their permit back this year. Maybe next year or something. They can say, "Hey, we got new leadership in. We fired all the other guys. Give us our permit back." But even if you do get the permit back, the brand name is already fairly tarnished, especially in the Bay Area.
Yeah. Waymo CEO talked about San Francisco a bit too, in terms of. Yeah, I highly recommend watching that interview. All right. I have a question for you on used Teslas. So Tesla doesn't appear to be pushing into the used market that much on their website. They have an opportunity to take advantage of these $4,000 used EV credit, but they're not listing used Teslas on their website below $25,000, even though outside of Tesla, you can find at dealerships with reasonable miles, Model 3s at less than $20,000 and Model Ys for less than $25,000. Is Tesla intentionally holding back from listing used Teslas below $25,000? And if so, why do you think that is?
I don't think they are. I have seen Teslas under $25,000, and they actually support the point of sale credit for EVs under 25,000. But I think they're just going really fast. Yeah, under 25,000. If you see one that qualifies for the used credit, it's probably going to be gone within the hour.
Yeah. Yeah, I've seen a couple of examples of it too, but when I look at elsewhere, I'm seeing Model 3s in the thousands range listed below $25,000. And one as low as 12, a couple of them in $12,000 range. But Tesla just, I don't think, there's an opportunity to use Tesla's side, but I don't think they want to jump on that. It looks like.
I mean, I think certified pre-owned usually costs a little bit more than what you get at a dealership, just because you're buying from the manufacturer. They have their own warranty, that kind of thing. And, the dealerships have access to a lot of local supply. Sometimes they also kind of run ads and say, oh, cash on the hood, this kind of incentive, whatever. And sometimes you get it, sometimes you don't. They sometimes want to advertise a really low price to get you in. So I think that can account for some of the differences.
Yeah, I looked into the manufacturer warranty that Tesla provides. I estimate the value somewhere between $1,000 to $2,000. That additional warranty that Tesla provides for used Teslas. That's a significant value. That does explain some of the difference. You're right. All right. Any other topics that you guys want to discuss? Anything else? Anything on your mind? On the board? Yoda, Uzi, go ahead.
I was just about to look up production and delivery estimates, but to get like a good obviously estimate. But I assume with these incentives, you're going to get a beat.
What incentives? I mean, actually, one of them I wanted to ask about. There was a rumor last night, or maybe a screenshot shared. Omar, you saw that. I think you replied to a couple of people of Tesla lowering the price of FSD for certain demo cars, maybe a few of them. What did you make of that when you saw it?
Yeah, it seems like there was a little bit of confusion. So Tesla has, it's kind of weird. And just goes back to the point of the EV tax credit just being so ridiculous for the industry. And it drives me nuts that people are like, oh yeah, the EV tax credit, Democrats, they're doing so good for EVs when they pass these laws that are just so ridiculous. So, obviously with the EV tax credit, you can get $7,500 off point of sale, but only if you're an SUV under 80,000 or a sedan under $55,000. So Tesla has two products that are right up against the price cap. If you add one option to the thing, it goes over the price cap. Like, for example, when I bought my Model 3 Performance, because the price cap is 55K, I wanted to get the Ultra Red, which is a $2,000 option that Tesla makes more money on. Instead, I went with the free paint color because that was the only way I could qualify for the $7,500 tax credit. So since then, since I bought, Tesla implemented a fix. They said, hey, look, if you want to add an option that would bring you over the price credit, we'll actually give it to you for free. So we'll give you your most expensive option free, whether it's ultra red paint or white interior or whatever that would bring you over the limit if you buy FSD. And because of the weird rules of the EV tax credit, software doesn't count towards the price cap. So if I want to buy FSD for 8,000, I can get that red paint and still qualify for the EV tax credit. So essentially on the Model X, there's a $3,500 seven-seat interior and a $6,500 six-seat interior. So essentially, if I have a Model X with the six-seat interior for $3,500, the price to add FSD is only $4,500 because it's the price of FSD minus the option that I'm getting for free if I select FSD. So FSD is only 4,500 more. So on the website, they were actually showing the price as 4,500 to kind of better reflect the fact that that's actually what the vehicle price is going to go up by if you add FSD. It's only going to go up by 4,500. But then some people were getting confused. They were saying, "Oh, is this an FSD price cut?" And so I think they changed the website back really quick, so it still says 8,000 now under FSD, but internally it's still reducing the price the same way. So it was kind of just a lot of confusion about that. The deal is still there. You can still essentially get FSD for a quote unquote 4,500 or even for as little as like 1,500 if you're buying the $6,500 six-seat interior and get that for free. So they're still doing this deal, but I think they just changed the way they displayed it on the website last night and then changed it back.
That makes sense. Yeah, that was spreading fast. That was a shocker. I had to like check it twice. Like what the hell's going on here? Any comments, Yoda? Uzi.
Yes, I provided meme commentary on Homar's perspective in the comments.
Okay. Thank you very much. All right. Anything else? Anything else we're gonna talk about, guys? Dallas.
I was a little concerned by an aspect of the Dirty Tesla video that was released, I think yesterday or today. Can we talk
What
about that for a
happened?
second?
Yeah, I didn't see what happened.
Nothing he did. I mean, if anything, he kind of brought to light something that I've never really thought about, and maybe someone in here can explain how this is not an issue. But he put an object in front of the car before it, did the summon feature that they sent out to him and a few people, and I mean, the car ran right over it essentially. And I understand that the only forward-facing cameras are up on top of the windshield, so there's not a bumper camera on any of the sexy fleet at the moment. But this is a hardware 3 and hardware 4 problem. This isn't hardware 3 versus 4. I mean, so I guess my question is that going to require a retrofit for this car to be quote unquote perfect to then be used in a full Robotaxi fleet?
Man, you buy $1,000 of Rivian stock and immediately start spreading FUD. What in the world? Amazing. Omar, what do you make of this new fuster on our board?
Yeah, I don't think you need a front bumper camera to be autonomous. If you think about a human driver, they can't see from the front bumper. They can only see from their driving position. And yet we still manage to not hit anything. How? Because, well, there is a blind spot right under your car, but you might see somebody walk up there. You might see somebody drop something. You might walk up to your car. So the way they've implemented in the software, if you smart summon, is it just backs up a little bit before driving forward if it can. So that gives it a little bit of forward visibility. Another technique you can use is just to keep the cameras running if you're worried about something like this. And, let's say someone drops something right in front of the car, you'd see them walking up, you'd see them placing it there. So simply just reversing and then driving forward if you can is enough to make sure that there's forward visibility. And I mean, just think about how often have you had a situation where you're in the car and someone comes up and puts something, under the car where you can't see it and you run over it. It isn't really something that happens all that commonly.
Alice?
I agree with you. I just think my brain immediately went to a child, right? Like kids playing in the driveway, you know, can't control them, obviously. So they're going to be crawling around wherever. I mean, this is an edge case, but I'm just saying, the video actually displayed that the backwards motion that you described wasn't sufficient to make um, or to stop it from running over anything. So maybe that's stuff they could tweak down the road. So just curious what y'all's take was on that.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of like kids playing in the driveway, I would probably just start playing some sound and say, like, the car is going to move, please move out of the way, flash some lights. Then let's say you're backing up out of the driveway, maybe drive forward a little bit very slowly and then back up or something like that. And, there's always some risk, right? I mean, people have hit their own kids pulling out of the driveway. This is probably going to be much safer than that in terms of really doing it cautiously, making sure nobody's around. But ultimately, you do just kind of have to make sure your kid isn't playing under the wheels of a car. Probably just a good idea in general. But the car will probably be able to do a better job than most humans at being careful and making sure it's clear and free of kids every time. Like if you think about sentry mode, right? You know how your car can continue monitoring for people. So, if somebody walks up to your car, it saves it. So if you were in a driveway where there might be kids nearby, you'd probably have the car stay in sort of a sentry mode. And then when that kid walks up to the car, the sentry mode would notice it, say, oh, okay, there's a kid there, and then be aware of them. Let's say they then crouched up right next to the car or something. You would be able to say, oh, I never saw them get up. Let me be careful. Let me maybe not drive that way. Let me maybe ask a human to confirm it's clear, that type of thing.
Anything else from the board? Raise your hand if you have something to say, Alexander.
Yeah, I want to share the most weirdest edge case I saw the other day when I was driving on the highway. So I was on the highway with my Model 3, and I was about to pass a car that had like a bike strapped to the back, and the front wheel was spinning, right? So the reflective material on the wheel actually reflected the sunlight, so it looked like the car was blinking to shift lane. So my Tesla actually braked for that. But I've ever seen that before. But that was a really weird edge case.
I mean, you don't even have FSD over there, right?
No, but
no one cares about edge cases, man.
Yeah, but Autopilot still like looks at other cars. If they want to change lanes, it's gonna brake.
I'm kidding. Man, sarcasm doesn't translate to Europeans. We care about your safety. Don't worry. Scott.
I was gonna say full self-driving it does see like speed bumps and in the road. It will slow down for those things. So it does see the road. It may miss something. So I don't know how important it is to have the bumper cam. I know a lot of people would like it or whatever, but I mean, it's got what 3 5 cameras facing forward, and we only have 2 eyes, and we can see everything just fine. So you think it can handle that fairly safely for the most part.
You know, when I first started hearing about front bumper camera was when Chuck Cook started doing his left turn. And they said, "Oh, we can't do Chuck Cook's unprotected left. We need a front bumper camera." Duh. And then they sent a software update. It started doing the unprotected left without a front bumper camera. Since then, the scenarios for why you need additional cameras have gotten more and more bizarre and convoluted. Well, what if someone puts a baby under your car while you're in the grocery store? Why would someone put a baby under your car? I mean, in theory, it could happen. In reality, it doesn't happen that much. So oftentimes we hear these scenarios and we go, oh, wow, how would it handle that? But then we see the software and it starts handling it. And, they have full control over their production. If they start seeing issues in the real world and, they're seeing millions of cars driving around every day, then they can just put a new camera on the car. They've already added it on the Cybertruck. I don't think it's going to be hard to add it if they need to. But the use cases are a lot less than people imagined.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's funny, actually, on the Cybertruck, it doesn't even use the front bumper camera yet for auto park and things like that. It's able to drive just fine and park just fine, even without that front bumper camera.
Is that right? How do you know they don't use it?
I think it was Chuck Cook maybe who did some tests and just basically put some tape over it and compared.
That makes sense. Yeah, that's amazing. There you go, Alexander.
I think
And
they will
Dallas.
use it eventually, but they just haven't yet.
Yeah. We are up to 71 likes on YouTube. And we have very high number of concurrent viewers. And that's despite the fact that Machine hasn't said a word. And if he wants to boost those numbers, he can come up with speaker board and spew some BS. Dallas?
Yeah, I'd propose a coffee bet that there would be one on the Highland.
You mean the Robotaxi, the purposeful Robotaxi?
I mean, there will definitely be one on that, but I'm saying Model Y Highland.
A
You mean
Juniper,
Model
you
Y
mean?
Juniper.
Yeah.
I mean,
I'm sorry.
people
Yeah,
were
correct,
telling me there
correct.
was going to be one on the Model 3
So
Highland.
this is the kind of accuracy that we can expect from a Rivian investor. He doesn't even know the difference between Highland and Juniper.
Misspoke.
I'm just teasing you. Now you're on my list.
If you remember with the Model 3, people were like, oh, it's definitely going to have a front bumper camera. Look, we saw it. There's a little dot in the photo. But they ultimately decided against it.
Yeah. Dallas, I mean, we have only a few days left to 10/10 now. 2 weeks, maybe 20 days. Do you guys expect, Omar? Let's go to the other folks first. Let's start with Dallas. Oh my gosh, we have the devil who just joined us. Look at that eye. Machine. I just last night with a friend of mine, I watched this movie of Brad Pitt and Tom Cruise. Do you know what movie I'm talking about?
No.
You don't? I'm surprised. I think it's called Interview with the Vampire. It's a vampire movie, and it made me think of you.
Anytime you can think of me with Brad Pitt, I accept.
Yeah, it was a really interesting movie from 1991 or something. Anyway, what do you have to say for yourself?
I just have to say, Alexander brings up edge cases in Sweden. Sweden's a very weird place. I don't think he's even brought up the most extreme edge cases. What about all the moose that eat fermented food and get drunk and crash into cars on the road? I am not exaggerating. These are real news stories out of that weird place up north. And then on top of that, did he tell you what they do every year? Every year for Halloween, all Swedes dress up like the Swedish chef character. It's very weird.
We
Imagine
dress up
driving
like
around like
machine.
that, having to manage all these Swedish chefs. Hurdy, hurdy, hur.
Yeah, Moose actually get drunk in Sweden. We are a really free country here.
Wow, amazing. Okay, Machine, did you watch on YouTube 2X what we talked about?
No, I can't remember. What was it?
Okay. Do you expect a difference in hardware, the sensor suite from the purpose of Robotaxi? Like even the camera locations, like a front bumper camera, let's say.
Absolutely. 100%. 100% guaranteed there will be some modification, especially if you're going to include an additional camera, like in the location that's currently not being used. 100% there's going to be something like that. Only Tesla investors clutching their pearls, hoping that their old individual cars can get on the Robotaxi network are the only ones who have lost rationality to think that Tesla wouldn't add cameras to make sure a Robotaxi is robust.
Omar, I think he's referring to you.
He is.
I mean,
I've been in the car with him. He has pearls in his console. He picks them out every time I get in the car and he starts clutching them.
I mean, obviously the existing cars can drive really well already. The Cybercab, and we've seen some kind of like test mules driving around that have the cameras covered up with tape, and they have a little bit different camera placement. So there does seem to be something testing there, but I mean, it really primarily is just because the vehicle is a different shape. So the sensor suite's going to be probably not unlike what we've seen on other vehicles like the Cybertruck. One forward-facing two forward-facing cameras on the top windshield, one front bumper camera, two side cameras facing rear, two side cameras facing forward, and a rear camera.
Okay, Machine, do you think that's going to be enough?
I don't know. I think, I honestly think the current camera configuration, high res cameras, even hardware 4 is probably good enough for a Robotaxi level driving. I don't think the cameras probably are enough. I mean, I've argued before about the sort of edge cases around the B pillar for creeping out, but I think you could probably get around that with better software and little tricks. So I don't think that's the main issue. I still think they're going to add to it, but I don't think that's necessary. I just think it's a nice to have. So
okay, so I got you. I mean, no one really cares if the camera locations are slightly different, or if there's a bumper camera. Like, it's not the end of the world. But you don't expect any sort of like a LiDAR or a radar or like 10 more cameras kind of difference, right?
Yeah, probably not. I mean, the one thing I would maybe add, I mean, there could be some radars on there. Like, I'd give that like a 50% chance, but I'm
Wow.
not. Yeah, sure. Why not?
That's huge. Omar, what do you think? Do you think there will be a radar on the purposeful Robotaxi?
Probably not. They did call it a pure vision Robotaxi on one of the earnings calls.
That sounds like a coffee bet between you two. Machine, are you willing to take a coffee bet? Machine?
Well, I said 50% chance at best. I'm not like devout to it. And I know you're just trying to get me to lose coffee bets. I know that's your whole goal here. So I don't
need to try. You do a great job at that by yourself.
Just because I lost, well, I haven't lost yet, but lost this. I'm going to lose the FSD disengagement bet. That's the main one. What else? What else you got?
I don't think you lost it. I think you won.
Well, unfortunately, we decided on the source. We have a specific metric for moments like that. I learned from previous experiences, we have to be extremely detailed. Otherwise, people come up here and claim Tesla achieved level 4 autonomy, and they yell at others about it too for like 3 hours. So
What happened to that person, by the way,
I don't
who
know,
was
who knows?
convinced it would now is L4? And that was like 5 months ago, and it's very clearly not L4. So I don't know. I think that person disappeared into the metasphere.
Okay. Let's talk some macro. We have 15 minutes to go. We have Machine and Omar. I don't think Machine got a chance to talk about this rate cut. People are convinced that the markets did not need this 50 basis point cut, that the economy did not need this 50 basis point cut. This week's initial weekly claims for unemployment benefits came in lower than expected. So people are convinced that the employment market is still strong. There are people who are crying out there saying that this cut will lead to inflation risks rising again. And everyone is convinced that this is going to lead to a melt up in the stock market. And even the people who say maybe not are only saying it because elections in the next like few weeks coming up here. But after that, they're like, yeah, definitely melt up. What do you guys think? I mean, when I see a group, actually, let's just ask your opinion first. Omar, what do you think about this potential melt up and the Machine? Machine?
I think there's going to be a correction first. Everyone already thinks everything's going up. Everyone thinks it's going up. It's probably going down. And, you know, these things always seem to find a trigger, waiting for a trigger. So I don't know what the trigger is. It could be the election uncertainty. It could be this port strike thing. Who knows? I do get a feeling there's going to be a correction first and then a melt up. So, you know, I haven't looked recently at what the forward PE ratios are of the markets, S&P versus NASDAQ, but I feel like they're pretty healthy. There probably is room to run higher. So I don't have a strong feeling, but my guess is there's going to be a correction first.
Did you finish building your short position on Tesla?
No short position in Tesla specifically. I do have a short on QQQ. Well, actually, the leverage QQQ right now, as of yesterday.
Oh, so you're following the what's his face, Mayur method.
I don't know. I haven't seen his trades.
Yeah, I think he came up here. I think he came up here and talked about how he has a short on QQQ. I believe I remember correctly. If anybody is following him closely, you're welcome to speak up here. All right, interesting. And you're looking for a 10% correction? Is that what it is?
I don't know. I haven't determined yet how much. I guess I'll wait and see.
You shorted the triple Qs. Is that what you said? Wow, that's amazing.
Yep.
Okay, Alexander?
What are you eating, Machine?
Yeah, he's definitely eating. Omar, what do you think about this potential melt up?
Melt up?
Yeah, people are convinced that 50 basis point cut is going to lead to a stock market melt up.
I mean, I guess it really depends on what the pace of the economy is. You know, how is growth looking? How's the labor market looking? As Powell said, I mean, they're really looking at this very closely. If things are bad, they could cut even more. If things look better than expected, they could cut less. But I think a lot of people are just looking at this and saying, okay, we're kind of concerned about what's going on in the economy and if this could spiral into a self-reinforcing cycle of job losses and slower growth.
Okay. Bob Joe?
Yeah, I agree with the melt up thesis. And for folks looking for a correction, especially in the QQQs, what would you say has been happening since July when the QQQ started its current correction? I mean, it's been in correction for 3 months already. So I wouldn't be looking for a correction here.
Machine Bill Bob just came up to say you're going to lose money.
I mean, I see a dead cat bounce that it just had, but we'll see. I'm positioned to allow it to go up a bit further and still make money over the next few months. But if it goes further than that, yeah, I'll lose.
Bill Bob Joe, what do you make of Rivian's 10% decline today?
I don't make anything of it, except it looks like maybe a capitulatory bottom for this correction that it has also been in since July. So, I don't think it's really tied to any fundamentals. And to me, if I were going to add a position, which I'm not, this is where I'd be looking to do it.
Okay. Interesting. If you were to add a position, which you're not, this is the place. Got it. Do you think the Volkswagen deal will actually materialize in Q4?
I don't know about Q4. I think it will materialize. I think, like Volkswagen, if they don't get this figured out and get better software and hardware implementations, they're going to fail. So I think they need to do this, and I think it'll eventually get done.
Okay. We have 10 minutes to go. But if we get the likes above 100, for each like above 100, we'll keep the space going. Okay. So the link to the YouTube video is at the top of our screens. For each like above 100 likes, we'll keep the place going for 1 more minute. So let's make it happen. Omar Bilbab Joe said that if Volkswagen does not get solve the software problem, they're going to go under. And VW stock, as we discussed earlier, is now below pre-COVID bottom. It's COVID levels. So that's very, very bad. I mean, we all remember the world 3-4 years ago and how stocks were plunging, including Tesla at the time. And Volkswagen stock price is now at that level. Their CFO says they have 1 to 2 years to turn things around. Is this the moment? Is this the moment when one of the biggest automakers of the world, top 2, I believe, are collapsing? Is it the bigger they are, the harder they fall moment?
Well, Volkswagen is a very slow moving, old legacy company at a time of massive disruption. We have here in 2024 real driverless services running. We have cars like Teslas, which every single car has the hardware for FSD built in. So you think about an autonomous future and what's likely looking like an autonomous electric future. There's no market for legacy gas and diesel cars. It's like saying, okay, the telephone exists. What's the market for a telegram going to be? What do you think is going to happen to the telegram company? Well, people are probably going to stop using telegrams. The writing's kind of on the wall, and it's going to seem obvious after the fact. So one of two things is going to happen. One, Volkswagen modernizes, completely revolutionizes the company, becomes a software first maker of millions of autonomous electric vehicles. Or B, they'll die. And their efforts to do A haven't been so successful.
Alexander, any response?
Yeah, like I said before, we solved that with the regulation pretty much.
I mean,
Alexander, are you saying like regulation is like the end all be all power that you can make the dead turn the dead alive? Is that your claim here? I mean, you can extend it, their life a little bit, but like Omar said earlier, you can't invent FSD and give it to Volkswagen with just government money.
Just like machines PP, extension is better than nothing.
Wow. Wow.
Totally uncalled for. Yeah, extremely rude people in this space. I don't know. I think people really should be more like me, an outstanding, moral citizen, not these dirty Swedes.
You know, I went to IKEA last night. Meatballs. Anyway, got a dresser.
I mean, think about this.
Yeah.
Think about this. The best inventions out of IKEA are cheap furniture at IKEA and cheap clothing at H&M. These things all
we actually
apart in
we
1
actually
week.
we actually talked about that. Literally that. I mean, the IKEA has a perception of like cheap being cheap and stuff, but I don't think so. The quality's pretty good. I don't know what you're talking about. You're
It's
stuck tiny.
all particle board. They literally have a big vat in the middle of Sweden where no one lives, and they just collect all these trees and they just mix it all up and compress it, and they make all the furniture.
Alexander?
As a small country, Sweden actually brings a lot to the table, literally.
Yeah, I agree. I respect your country, Alexander. Don't listen to machine.
Well, you know, the only thing this country has done, other than those two companies, is steal American athletes. You stole our pole vaulter. Ridiculous. Don't you have your own athletes? Huh? In that little country? You got to go take ours? Disgusting.
Yoda?
Yeah.
Yoda?
Machine. Are you using an IKEA table right now?
I am not. I will say we do have some of
Hey
their,
guys.
we do have some of those 4x4 cubicle things. Those are good for books for the kids.
Yeah, there you go. You're like one of those. Ahmed, you have to stay on mute. Raise your hand and wait to be called upon. Thank you. Man, these new speakers are ambitious sometimes. There's like 4 hands up. There's a good conversation going on, and this guy is like, "Go ahead. Let's see. Let's honestly, I want to hear what you have to say, Ahmed."
What's up, man? I'm so sorry. You're right. It's just in the spaces I'm into, we're used to just speaking. And I thought I had something I could share that can help some people. Maybe not all of us, but some people. I was part of this community, this space. They did some challenge in AI. I'm not sure how aware people are of AI in this space, but there's an award that was won, and I won it. But I want to pass it forward, so I just shared it here to you, Yaman, if you want to allow it to be up here. Oh, it is up here. So if you guys want, just put your name there. It's a $250, or actually 250 pound cash, and it's mega prompt. That's actually
What is going on? What is he talking about? Dallas?
Sounds like some kind of scam.
Yeah, Yaman, did you answer that 188 number or something?
Dallas?
Yeah, I was going to comment earlier on Alexander's point about infrastructure, or I'm sorry, government intervention solving the problem. Well, that's because they pay a 25% sales tax, so I think they have to feel that way.
Oh, wow. Is that true, Alexander? Wow.
25% sales tax on new cars. Yes, that is correct.
Oh my goodness. That's amazing.
Elon Musk would say Sweden is a communist.
Yeah, but we also decide who is smart or not with our Nobel Prize, and we decided that machine is not that smart. That's why we threw him out.
Maybe true.
All right. Dallas?
Alexander, would you say that Sweden is a successful example of socialism or a failed example of socialism?
Successful. I mean, we produced a lot of stuff that you use in your daily life. Like, I was about to say dynamite, but I don't think that's the case anymore.
Cardboard kitchen tables and other things.
Spotify.
All right. I think we're
Ace.
about to get to 100. Let's see.
Ace of base.
Let's check the likes here. We're about to run out of time here, so let's see if the likes made it. We are at 96 likes, guys. Hit that like button. Otherwise, we're ending in 4 minutes. Hustle Town.
I got here kind of late, so I was just curious about the new FSD 12.5 users. Is there anybody on the speaker board that just got it?
JC did.
Yeah, JC, tell us about it. JC? JC is busy. He said
While
it's a
we're
game
waiting.
changer.
Oh, sorry about that.
Yeah,
Oh,
go
no.
ahead,
Oh,
JC.
yeah, it was a game changer. Absolutely. Yeah, sorry about that. I was fucking my dogs up. But, yeah, it is amazing. I'm about to upload the video footage once we get done here. But man, the nag was just completely gone. Like I didn't even think about it. I didn't notice any sensitivity to it whatsoever. And there were probably about 5 or 6, I won't call them edge cases, but definitely corner cases where it could have been like an intervention in the past or just uncomfortable, completely gone. Like the fishtail thing. I'm pretty sure a lot of other people on 12.3.6 kind of get bothered by the fishtail. Eventually it gets in the right lane, but it takes like 3 or 4 fishtails to do it. That was completely gone. It just goes for it. Much more aggressive, but not like uncomfortable aggressive. I would say like if 12.3.6 was like a 18 or 19-year-old driver, I get the feeling 12.5.2 is definitely more like you're in your 20s now. Like you've got about 6 or 7 years of driving under your belt, and we can trust you to drive from Houston to Galveston or Houston to
There you
Dallas.
go.
That's what I felt like.
Thank you very much, JC. JC's dog is very excited about FSD, as we can tell as well. So JC says if this was a teenager driver, it's now a young adult driver. Omar, do you agree with that?
Yeah, this is the first time it's ready for a normal person to use.
There you go. So now it's going wide. Hopefully, majority of the vehicles will have it.
Yeah, I think this is going to be a big weekend. And I mean, it just blows me away every day. It's such a great car. You can just drive the hell out of it. The performance on this thing's insane. And you push one button and it just does everything for you. I was just at the Apple store picking up my iPhone, and after I got the iPhone, I smart summoned the car. And I wasn't watching it, I was watching the camera, but I couldn't see the car. And I see the car just stop. And then a car comes flying by in the parking lot right in front of it. And then it completes the right turn, and then it comes up to me. And I didn't even see that car. The car was completely reacting on its own and stopping, and I didn't see it until after. And it just drove to me, and it pulled over perfectly, getting out of the road so I could get in. And I was like, wow, this is really cool. It was the first time I've ever used Smart Summon where I was actually really using it, not just testing it, but actually saying, wow, that was convenient. I didn't have to go walk all the way to the car because it met me in the middle.
JC.
Yeah, Omar, is 12.5.2.1 basically 12.5.3 just without the ass?
12.5.3 is just 12.5.2 with Smart Summon.
Dallas and then Lincoln.
Omar, were you ever on 12.5.1, and is there any improvement from 12.5.1 to 12.5.2?
You know, 12.5.1 was almost a little more polished and refined compared to where 12.5.3 and 12.5.2 are now, but they seem to have a little bit of extra capability. The wheel is a little bit jerkier than 12.5.1, but as the 12.5.2 and 12.5.3 get a little more polished, I assume they've reached that level now that they're going wide. I think you're going to see it far exceed even 12.5.1.
Yoda. Sorry, Lincoln. Lincoln. Again.
and it's Friday, so it's my chance to say something. So I've been on the one update a year thing. I love FSD. I love my one update I get a year. It's amazing. It's like Christmas, but it was in February this year or something. I'm loving it. 12.36. Those are good numbers. The 3 and the 6, you double it, get to 6. It's great. But I kind of want to try the new one. I'm a little excited to try it. So I'm buying a new car just to try FSD. I'm flying to Vegas tomorrow. I'm going to have the Model 3 long range all-wheel drive me home with FSD. If it comes with 12.36, I'm just going to leave it and I'm flying home. So I'm pretty sure it's not going to have 12.36. I'm really hoping.
It's going to come with 12.5.
Okay. I'm excited. Looking forward to it. And that's all. Thank you.
It's going to blow you away, Lincoln.
It's going to what?
It's going to blow you away. Hopefully I didn't get the you away part cut off.
Wow. I didn't hear about that feature.
Dallas.
Yeah, the new Model 3 is such a great car. I was just driving it up this hill, 90 miles an hour today, and I was like, wow, I cannot believe this thing can move like this. This is just unbelievable. And then you just press one button and let go, and it takes you to where you're going. What an amazing car, and I can't wait to see what the new Model Y has, if this is the new Model 3.
Dallas.
Yeah, I think we are going to see a big weekend for sure. I have a weird feeling that Smart Summon's going to be this weekend as well. Obviously, I'm an optimist there, so we'll see. I think coming to the end of the quarter, they're going to want to get that thing out.
I don't think so. I think the fact that they're rolling out 12.5.2 probably says it's going to be another week or two before we see Smart Summon. So, there's no major showstoppers on Smart Summon. It's working pretty good overall. So I don't think we're like months and months away. But the fact that they're rolling 12.5.2, I think that's going to go wide first. I can imagine the team said, hey, just the no nag is a pretty big update. Let's get that out and not add, too much complication with NHTSA and all that. Another thing that could maybe slow down the rollout. And then let's do Smart Summon in another phase. So I think probably everyone will get the 12.5 without Smart Summon, and then Smart Summon will probably be activated within a week or two.
Yoda.
Yeah, it's becoming really clear with this new version that if you spend enough time with it, and Tesla can make this happen with, say, a 30-day free trial, but if you spend enough time with it, it is very difficult to go back. And whether 12.5.2.1 is that version for you, or it's the next one, or perhaps it's 3 iterations from here, everyone's going to reach that point if they try it. This is like phones without buttons anymore, cameras without film anymore. Once you taste it, you can't go back. And Mrs. Yoda agrees.
Lincoln.
I'd like to give a shout out for Team White Interior as well. There's like 30 black interior cars here in Salt Lake City, but I can't do that. So I'm literally flying to Vegas and driving it home just for a white interior. That's all.
Smart move. Hey, why don't you drive to LA instead?
Well, I got my kids. I'm like pawning them off for like 12 hours so I can fly down and drive it back. So I say pawning them off. I found a few homeless people that need work, and I like to give to the community.
Yoda.
A question for the investors out there. What is Gary Black waiting for? I keep seeing these posts about Tesla is going from a negative narrative to a positive narrative, but it just doesn't seem like he's adding. What's he waiting for?
Omar, since you're the Gary Black expert.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I think obviously the momentum is shifting. Everyone can see that. we're going to have a year-over-year sales increase. A lot of the sort of doom and gloom projections didn't turn out to be true. And I mean, we're less than 3 weeks away. We're 20 days away from 10.10 now. This update's finally going wide. People are finally going to see what 6 months of progress looks like. They're finally going to get no nag. Actually, Smart Summon is coming down the line. So, I mean, I think they're executing quite well, all things considered, and they're going to have a great show for us in 20 days.
When is the invite coming out?
Should be next week.
Yoda, what kind of reaction do you expect from 10.10? Stock price reaction.
Well, you know, a lot of people are saying sell the news, so I wouldn't be surprised. But for me, it's all about just the progress. So, you know, we can test FSD in our cars today, and that's what I'm focused on. But I think 1010 gives me an opportunity to look at that future, you know, the most advanced model that Tesla is working on. So yeah, that's what I'm looking for.
Thank you. That is great. We now have 112 likes on the YouTube video, which means we're going for 12 extra minutes today. We are 6 minutes extra now, so 6 more minutes to go. Thank you very much to those of you who took the time to like the video. The link is at the top of our screens. It really helps the channel out. We also have record number of concurrent viewers as well. I think it's going to be a very popular episode. Thank you very much, everybody. I really appreciate your help growing this YouTube channel, which allows the space to be continued. Any other comments, JC? Let's go to Ellie.
Nah, just
Yeah, just a quick question to Omar. Omar, how much range do you get from your performance?
I have no idea, to be honest. You know, I actually downgraded from my Model S long range, which had 400 miles of range, to this one, which has around 303 miles of range. And even the 303 miles is more than I need. So I've been driving 60 miles round trip every day between my new house and my old house. And every day I can go drive as much as I want. I can even drive back at 100 miles an hour, tear up the road, use up a ton of energy every day, and not even use 30% of the battery. And then I can plug in and I can drive as much as I want every day and never plug in. I take a road trip, I make a stop for 15 minutes, get some food, get back in the car. It really is something that I think people coming to EVs for the first time worry about. For someone like me who's been driving an EV since 2018, I don't even think about range anymore. I mean, there are chargers everywhere. Last night I went out to dinner and we went to Restoration Hardware. I park on the curb at Restoration Hardware. There's a charge point charger on the curb. So I plug in there next to another Model 3 because they said you have to be plugged in to park there. So I didn't actually need a charge, but I did need a parking spot. Then I go to another parking garage for dinner. They got EV chargers all over the place there. They got fast chargers. They got level 2 chargers. They're literally just everywhere in LA. Like, you really don't have to worry about it too much. There's just chargers everywhere. So if I somehow got to a point where my battery was at like 2% and I couldn't make it home, a 5-minute supercharging stop would provide all the power I needed to make it back home and plug in. So I literally am downgrading the amount of range. It's like, oh, turns out I don't need 400 miles. I only need 300.
JC.
Yeah, Ellie, I got the new Model 3 long range all wheel drive and a couple of comments there. Number one, I think Kyle from Out of Spec podcast or Out of Spec Studios, they did a test, that normal range test they did, and they came up with like north of 370 miles of range on the new Model 3 long range. And I'll tell you just anecdotally, I've had mine for 4 weeks now, and I've driven about 1,100 miles on it, and I've had to do nothing but trickle charge it with 110 volt right out of my garage, and I have had no problem. And my commute here in Houston is, normally between 60 to 100 miles a day. And I haven't even had to use like a level, a larger charger apparatus in my garage, just 110 volt. It's amazing. And I totally agree with Omar. There's like, there's zero range anxiety with this thing.
Scott?
When I get my Model 3 long range rear wheel, which is 363, I actually have a couple long trips I'm going to need to be going on pretty soon. And I am going to document to see if I can beat that 363 or how many I can actually get. If I can get 400, and I'll definitely let everyone know what my trips end up to be this fall. And this is in the Wisconsin, Milwaukee, Chicago area.
Great. Ellie?
Yeah, no, I just want to say that I did see the video. I'm just asking about the performance because I'm trying to understand the range for customers. That's the only car I don't know actually what to tell customers. So I was trying to understand that. Thanks, JC.
Yeah, I would check out Out of Specs video. They do pretty detailed range tests. So, they did a 70-mile-an-hour range test. They do it for pretty much every car. So
They have one with the performance, Omar?
not the performance, but they did do the long range all-wheel drive. The performance is going to be less range than that, obviously.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm trying to understand. Thanks.
Yeah, the next one they're going to do is the rear wheel drive, the new one, and I think that's even going to be more than three. That may rival the Model S long range.
Yoda?
Something's been bothering me.
What is it?
Your profile picture. Can I do you a favor and send you a new one?
Why? What's wrong with that profile picture?
I don't know. It looks like a stock photo of some Microsoft application from the 90s.
Whatever. I like it. I'm a man of traditions. I like traditions. It's nostalgia all the way back. I created that. And I selected that picture from 2016. Yeah.
I'm going to DM you a new one.
It's going to be a waste of time. But also, you can't DM me, I don't think. Are you a speaker? Are you on the speaker DMs? I should add you on there. Okay, Dallas?
Yeah, I would advise anyone who's having range problems in a hot area of the region like Dallas, to go get your windows tinted, man. The ceramic tint that I put on, I don't know the measurement of how many miles that has saved me, but AC chews up range, and I know people like in LA who have perfect weather every day don't have to deal with it, but I'll check my app and the car is 154 degrees at times. So after I did the ceramic tint, that has gone down low hundreds. It's unbelievable. So it's worth the money.
Any other comments, questions, grudges? Anything you want to hash out? Ellie and then Lincoln.
Yeah, I'm gonna follow Yoda. I'm gonna ask or suggest something. So I post a question asking who will be the next person you will interview for your YouTube channel, and I ask you if you will be willing to commit to whoever the person will be. The highest result, whatever.
Wait, you want to do a poll? Is that what you said?
Well, I already posted it like 15 minutes ago, and I tagged you. And if the momentum will be good, maybe a lot of people will suggest some people, and I'm just asking if you will be willing to commit to the person the most comments would be. Sorry, I don't know how to ask it.
No, I'm not going to run it with some random poll where bots can vote. That's not how it works. The person who comes to my YouTube channel for a deeper conversation has to be a regular speaker who has a track record of abiding by the rules of the space and adding a lot of value over time. And they've shown that they can think about different topics deeply from a first principles perspective. They're willing to put some forecasts out there to be added to the spreadsheet. And that's how it's going. So, I mean, there are a lot of people in queue. Like Alexander needs to go on there. I hope you come. Dallas is gonna come. Yoda, of course, is welcome. And you know, Hustletown, Edward, a lot of people. So there's a queue. I just have to get around to it. Step by step. We're doing well on the YouTube channel. It's growing nicely, steadily. Thank you very much for everybody for their support. And there's more to come. I have a lot of plans for it. Alexander?
When Spotify?
Yeah, I know. I'm telling you, there's a lot I need to do. Like Apple podcasts and stuff. Spotify, you're right. Are we on the topics to talk about? No, it says to talk about YouTube channel. What's going on? Let's see. We have a speaker request to speak. Lincoln, anything on your side?
Just props to Ellie for trying to flex. You got shut down. And you forgot to add me to the DM group, the speaker DM group. Just want to let you know about that.
Yeah, okay. You come like once a month.
And I accept the interview on YouTube anytime. Thank you.
Okay. Hustletown.
Yeah, I just want to talk to Alexander about, making these companies survive beyond their expiration date. You think the people of Europe are going to want the government to just keep funding these legacy automotive companies until they just, like, how long do you think that'll last?
Well, people don't want to lose their jobs. That's one point. And obviously the economy needs these companies to thrive. So they're going to do whatever it takes to keep them alive, I think.
See, my thing is, I think that's going to be a very similar case here in the United States. And I would say it already happened in China, but obviously they don't have that kind of problem. Once Europe gets up to that level where hybrids and electric vehicles get to the 50% mark and above, I think they're gonna, there's gonna be like a Rubicon that needs to be crossed, And I think the US is going to face that similar thing. I do not want to fund these companies so that they can just survive for, nostalgia sake. Like I sure hope that happened in the United States.
I mean, you have done this before, right? With GM and some banks and stuff.
Yeah, but that wasn't because of there's an alternative. It's not like, Netflix overtaking Blockbuster or anything. This was because we had a serious problem with the housing market and the entire economy was collapsing. This is going to be a provider in Europe, or not Europe, a provider in China is going to be able to produce a product that is not only safer but more efficient. And obviously, Tesla is going to create problems for everybody in that space. I can't see having to fund these companies or bail them out while there's companies like Tesla or even Rivian, should they survive, please survive. But I just can't see hope in leading that on.
Hi, Alexander needs to come to my YouTube channel and we can dig into this Europe. And maybe we can bring Hustletown to have a one-on-one debate. Tech Greg, go ahead. Tech Greg, you may unmute yourself and go ahead. All right.
All right,
Yeah,
I'm
go
back.
ahead.
I'm here now. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Sorry about that. Yeah, so I was on hardware 3. I am on hardware 3 and 21. And I finally got 12.5.2.1 today. I'm actually doing my first drive now. And yeah, I thought it was never going to come because it was being delayed all the time. And the no nag is just incredible. What a difference it makes in your daily, in the drive. I'm just on a first 10-mile drive, and the no nag is great, and it is a lot smoother than 12.3.6 is. So it is, and I'm on the East Coast. I'm in New York, so it finally came to me. So I guess it is rolling out.
Okay, very good. I think I'm gonna get a chance to test it myself as well, sometime this weekend or next week. So we'll check it out. Omar, we have a question for you from YouTube live chat. Thomas is asking, has that oil guy been back recently, and did he meet up with Omar? What happened to that?
Yeah, we're still waiting for FSD on the Cybertruck. It hasn't arrived yet, so we haven't gone to Texas or met up with them or heard from them.
Yeah, so when FSD comes to Cybertruck, we'll go to Texas and go through his muddy oil fields, right?
Yep.
Okay, great. All right, 120 likes, 20 minutes over. I think that was
Wait, can
really
I say
good.
one more
Yeah.
thing before we go?
Yeah, go ahead.
I mean, so the idea that Europe is just going to protect Volkswagen with regulation, that FSD or self-driving cars will come to the market and, they just won't allow it and will let people die to keep Volkswagen alive. I think we may be overestimating the power of regulators there.
Yeah, I agree with you. Alexander?
Yeah, like there's a lot of stuff in the world that we keep on doing that kills people. So I don't think that is a strong argument, even though I think it's right.
All right. Well, oh, by the way, I want to ask you guys. Maybe we can do next week. All right. Happy Friday. Happy weekend, everybody. And I will chat with you next Monday. Take care. Enjoy your weekends.